The Long Road by Wolfland. Aron had already made up its mind, and no amount of coaxing from Steven or Beldam would get him to budge. So, with a tired sigh, Steven waited with his Pokemon outside the Dewford gym until the doors slid open promptly at 7 a.m.
Looks like we got ourselves an early bird challenger today!
Jude's voice rang out as he removed his key from the lock, but he faltered when he caught sight of the disheveled boy standing before him.
Oh my! What happened, trainer? Are you okay?
Again, Steven found himself intimidated by the muscular gym leader, but he managed a nod. "I'll be fine. Please, if you've got an opening in your schedule, we're here for a rematch." Jude blinked as he looked Steven over. Nothing about the boy's appearance made it seem like he was going to be fine, let alone be able to take on something as strenuous as a gym challenge. But it wasn't his position to squash a trainer's dreams, so he held his tongue and waved Steven inside.
Sure, come on in. You're the first one here.
By the time Steven slowly trudged to the trainer's box, Aron had already perched itself on the battlefield, awaiting the first opponent. Beldam whined a short note at Steven's side, and he looked towards his newest Pokemon.
Aron, are you sure you want to do this?
But Steven needed no other reassurance, for as soon as the junior trainer's Pokemon materialized on the opposite side of the arena, Aron launched its offensive. Without uttering a single command, Steven watched his Pokemon systematically dismantle a Machop and then a Meditite, all on its own. The formula was the same, honed from its time spent living and battling with a fighting-type Pokemon in Granite Cave. Blind the opponent with a barrage of mud shots, and then dance around their wildly thrown attacks until finding an opening to deliver a devastating headbutt. After the Meditite was recalled by its trainer, Aron trotted back up to Steven's side and nosed at the pack at his feet until it produced a potion in its jaws. With a small grunt, it offered the potion up towards Steven, and he gingerly knelt down to administer it.
That's an interesting strategy you've got there,
Jude murmured, as he took his spot in the trainer's box across from Steven. The jovial tone he normally carried had all but vanished.
I hope you're not seriously considering trying the same thing against me.
Steven winced at the gym leader's cutting words. Truthfully, he had no strategy. His only option was to rely completely on Aron's tactics and hope that Jude hadn't already formulated the perfect counter. It was a thin hope.
I'll end this quick,
said Jude, as a Hariyama hit the arena floor with a thud. In the face of its towering opponent, Aron remained unflappable. Lowering its head with a growl, it readied its first attack. But Jude and Hariyama were prepared. Easily sidestepping Aron's mud shot, Jude directed his partner.
Hariyama, stop!
The ground shook as Hariyama's foot slammed down with thunderous impact. So thunderous that the shockwave nearly picked Aron off the ground and flipped it on its back, leaving its legs waggling helplessly in the air.
Karate chop!
Hariyama's hand came down in a crushing blow that sent dust flying and chunks of floor scattering.
Aron!
Even before the dust settled, Steven found himself dashing out into the arena.
Trainer, get back in your box!
Shouted Jude, his eyes locked onto where his Hariyama had struck. Steven skidded to a halt as Hariyama let loose a howl of pain. Eyes wide, he stumbled backward in a panic as its hand came up in a flash to reveal the source of its pain. Somehow, Aron had managed to latch on to the side of Hariyama's palm with its jaws, and it clung there for dear life. But no matter how hard Hariyama flailed its hand, Aron would not let go. Beldam darted forward to shield its fallen trainer from the thrashing Hariyama, just as it brought its hand high in an effort to smash Aron into the arena floor once again. But at the peak of its arc, Aron seized the opportunity it had been waiting for. Releasing its hold on Hariyama's hand, it launched straight up into the air from the momentum of the swing. Too sudden for Hariyama to halt its arm, it could only follow Aron's trajectory with its eyes. With a war cry of its own, Aron plummeted downward and tucked into its own attack, landing the headbutt squarely to the back of Hariyama's head. The monstrous sumo Pokemon collapsed to the ground in a heap, knocked out. Aron too hit the ground and tumbled to a stop at Steven's feet. Shocked into frozen silence, Steven watched as Aron let out a soft grunt and staggered back to its feet, victorious. He was still staring dumbfounded at his Pokemon when he heard footsteps approaching. Nervously glancing up at the gym leader, he saw a flash of disappointment flit across Jude's face.
Looks like we lost,
he shrugged as one hand came to rest on his hip.
That's quite the tenacious little Aron you have there. I'm not sure what sort of bond you two share, but it's clear that it cares for you a lot. Make sure you don't let it down.
Steven swallowed as he accepted the potion Beldam brought over and gently applied it to Aron's wounds. As the medicine kicked in, Aron stopped shaking, and Steven was relieved to feel it nuzzle happily into his side. Jude shook his head as he dropped the knuckle badge into Steven's lap.
I'm going to let this one slide, since I can't help but be impressed by your Aron's determination. But I hope you realize the other gym leaders aren't as forgiving as me. You're going to have your work cut out for you if you don't step up your training from here on out. They won't let you call yourself a trainer if you don't actually train your Pokemon.
Steven nodded stiffly as Jude extended a hand and lifted him off the floor.
Now you're going to thank me by heading right down to the docks and getting on the first boat you can find that's bound for Slateport. You need to get to a proper hospital, or at least one better than what we can offer here in Dewford.
As Steven settled onto the creaky mattress in the only cabin aboard the small fishing boat, he cradled 2 Pokeballs in his hands. I'm so sorry, you two. Aron, I don't know if I'll ever be able to repay you for saving me. Beldam, I want to be able to grow stronger with you. I hope you're able to put up with all my mistakes. I want to be your trainer, I really do. Can you try to put everything that happened back there behind us and start fresh once we get to Slateport? I'm not saying I deserve another chance to be your trainer, but if you're willing to give me one... 2 flashes of light answered his question, and in an instant, both Pokemon gathered close to their trainer. Aron barked happily as it nestled against Steven's hip. Even the normally skeptical Beldam had no qualms in showing its affection, as it squeezed underneath Steven's good arm in the closest its species could offer for a hug. Overwhelmed, Steven suddenly felt lightheaded, and he wavered where he sat. Both Aron and Beldam took notice and voiced their alarm. I'm sorry, I just think I need to lay down until we get to Slateport. Both Pokemon understood, and they waited patiently as he gingerly lowered himself down on the mattress. He could barely choke out his next words as they snuggled up against him once again. Thank you both. I really mean it. Even with his Pokemon's comforting presence at his side, Jude's words still echoed in his mind. As exhaustion finally caught up with him, he couldn't stop the tears from flowing as he drifted off to sleep. He would become a good trainer for the sakes of his partners. Whether it's by type coverage, move diversity, skill specialization, or personality traits, successful Pokemon teams will find ways to work together and rise up to the challenges they face.